Welcome to the exciting rebirth of Superstar, featuring choose your membership rate as low as just $3 a month. At Superstar, you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week, unlimited access to special horoscopes, class passes for Synchronicity University, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of November 13, 2022. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now. We've got some truly special energy here, especially as we begin the week and move towards the middle. There is hope, there is excitement, there's strategy. There is the dream, and some of that strategic, focused energy is going to be with us as we move later in the week. However, I think for a lot of us, what we're most likely going to be feeling most is Mars retrograde square Neptune. That energy will perfect at the end of the week. Now, if this sounds familiar, it should, because I've been talking about this Mars square Neptune energy. It's been kind of free floating throughout October, and now here we are in mid-November. The great thing is with this energy is that once we get to the end of the week, it will pass. So that's something to look forward to, absolutely. However, another thing about this energy is it can bring with it a sense of some uncertainty. But uncertainty is very valuable. It is Eckhart Tolle who said, one of my very favorite quotes of him is that if you get comfortable with uncertainty, infinite possibilities open up in your life. And I do think the face of Mars retrograde in Gemini squaring Neptune, well, part of that can be the invitation to get comfortable with uncertainty, because just when we think we know, especially where it is our feelings, especially where it is how we are directing our energy and how to do so wisely, we may not be so sure the next moment. And that really is okay. These times of uncertainty can be part of what opens up even more possibilities to us. But here's something else to keep in mind as well. Once we get past the end of this week, more and more as we move towards the later part of this month, it is going to be Mars that will trine Saturn. I'll be here to talk about it every step of the way, but that trine to Saturn is going to be what brings in stability and maturity. And it's going to help calm some of this energy that has been with us as Mars slowed down to a standstill and then stationed and then went retro, all while remaining within orb, remaining within a sphere of connection with Neptune. That'll start to feel like it eases, especially as we pass this week. There's other energies playing out this week as well that can be very powerful and very fortunate, without a doubt. But because of the sense of consequence, especially of Mars, it may end up getting a lot of our energy and a lot of our attention as well. But where it comes to Neptune, I actually think when you look at what's happening earlier in the week on Monday, the sun will speak in supreme harmony with Neptune. And that trine to the sun is energy that is positively dreamy and imaginative and spiritual. But then we get to the end of the week with that Mars square Neptune, and some of us may be feeling as if, what was all of that worth? What was all of the sense of hope and spirituality and idealism to end up in a place of doubt and uncertainty? It can feel as if it is a contradiction, but there's actually a wisdom that is playing out there. A couple of examples come to mind when I look at this contrast of energies. Now, some of my examples might be dramatic, and it's not because anything along these lines is necessarily going to come up. It's just illustrative. Carl Jung believed that many of the people who came in for psychoanalysis could have their issues, their problems resolved if only they allowed themselves to believe in something infinite, something greater than themselves. Now, that could be, according to Jung, religion, it could be metaphysics, it could be spirituality. Whatever that is, ultimately, is the thing that is needed to cultivate faith. And it is in the cultivation of faith that we're able to move through times when we feel that, whether it is within us, our own psyche, our own emotion, or whether it is things actually happening in our life in the present day, we're able to move through all of that and make sense of it that much more, because we have that sense of connection, some sense of a higher meaning, even if it isn't necessarily evident in the moment. Now, contrast that with what Freud believed. So Freud believed that it was ultimately spirituality or religion that kept us infantile. It was only in accepting what Freud called the cruelty of fate. It was only in accepting the fact that, as part of life, whatever you do, there are going to be things that come up that are unexpected. And some of those things are going to be not good. Some of those things might be painful. That's just what it is to be a human being and a human experience. And if we are trying to find meaning and trying to connect with some greater spirituality or something, ultimately what we're looking for is a parental figure. And that keeps us as children, psychologically speaking. And so you can see why these two had a falling out, right? With very different understandings of the function of meaning. But I am of the belief, having come across these different ideas, in my humble opinion, I think that we as human beings, we need meaning. Now, that meaning can be found by anybody. It doesn't necessarily mean that you believe in something greater than yourself, if you want to conceptualize it that way or not. But the human experience can be one of wonder. It can be one of interaction with a mystery that can fill us with awe. And it is that awe that ultimately allows us to move through moments that can feel rather challenging. I had an experience recently. It was quite remarkable. I went to a museum here in Costa Rica. And at this museum, I found, as I entered, an exhibition. And it was of a artist, a Costa Rican artist, who had ended up in a Nazi camp for a few years, and then was released and was able to come home. And when I looked at this art, it was so fascinating to me. On the one hand, you saw this person who, the first works presented were really heavy, right? Like really intense stuff. He was making sense of a truly painful experience. This is the cruelty of fate, right? The way in which life can be unfair sometimes. But then something starts happening. Like you see him first sort of documenting some of his painful experiences. Then you see these Christ figures. Basically, he's showing this burden of a very heavy and large cross. And then this shift happens. It's almost organic, but his art starts getting lighter. And as he moves forward, you start seeing scenes of dancing. You start seeing scenes of neighborhoods working in harmony and people being connected to each other. You start seeing scenes of friendship and love as well. And I thought that this was so interesting as part of the journey towards healing, whatever it is that might be painful to you. And I would say that most of us on the planet will never experience that type of intense cruelty of fate like this artist did. And I'll be sure to share, if I haven't already, you should be seeing some images up. Technically, you're not allowed to video in any of the museums in Costa Rica. I didn't know that. So I got a whole bunch of videos before I knew that. And then out of respect, of course, I only took photos after that. But you should see some videos here. the way in which human beings can make sense of, move through, and triumph over truly painful emotions and experiences is in and of itself something of wonder, is in and of itself something that we can believe in that just might be greater than whatever limited conception we might have of what it is to be human. Very famously, the teachings of the Buddha include the Four Noble Truths. And the very first noble truth, as taught to us by the Buddha, was that life is suffering. And of course, he laid out a way in which to find your way out of suffering. One of them is non-attachment, can be a very powerful way as well, and understanding the path of Buddhism as a way out of suffering. It is life that, yes, can have those moments, and yet life can also be something of inspiration. It can be something that when we allow an energy of healing to come in, or at least we do our part to allow that, it can feel as if we've been moved by an energy that connects us, is the experience of that which is greater than ourselves. It isn't the suffering that can be avoided, but there is a lot to be said for knowing that whatever that suffering may be, again, it could be emotional, it could be just a moment, it could be a frustration, but whatever it might be, ultimately we can deal with it as it comes, and we'll find our way to deal with it, whether that's through a spiritual tradition like Buddhism or through our own psychological resources that we have developed. And so I share all this because of that very strong Neptunian energy. That in and of itself might have a lot of us going on a bit of a roller coaster here. And imagination can be a powerful and beautiful thing, especially where it is that it becomes part of us being able to thrive, especially after times of challenges. And of course, it is inspiration and faith that can be considered a key part of creativity and why it is that art is so powerful so often. However, all of that is something that sometimes we need to remember intellectually because we may not always feel very connected to that very energy of healing and of hope and of possibility. I think we're going to have all of it on offer with a week like this. Just if we look at Neptune to start. Mars in Gemini, my dear friend Michael Barwick recently said that Mars retrograde in Gemini is like Mercury retrograde, but with a knife. And so what he meant is that it is more intense. It can feel like it reaches us with that much more drama, that much more intent as well. But one thing I've really come to understand as of late, which I think is so powerful, is that our bodies are incredible. We are able to heal physically from so much, and that so much of what, like if we have an accident or something, we might go into the emergency room, we might get treatment, but so much of the healing is actually just about kind of getting out of the way, letting the body do what it needs to do to heal itself. That doesn't mean that, of course, you don't go to the emergency room, take your antibiotics, whatever it is that's needed. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that it can be very powerful to engage with curiosity, with awareness, whatever challenge may be there, physical or spiritual or emotional, and know that there is a journey that we are undertaking. And if we trust that journey, our healing must be the result on the other side. And so, Mars retrograde in Gemini, our minds might feel all over the place. What it is we're understanding as true and as real for us might feel very scattered now. And just when we think we know we have the answer, we've achieved nirvana, which is the end goal of, or you could say it is a goal of, the process and the spiritual path of Buddhism. We've reached that state, and yet there can be moments, there can be times when we are led to realize that you get a glimpse, right? You just get a glimpse sometimes because ultimately we are human. We're meant to walk the human journey. And so I think that the part of the human journey that involves faith and imagination and art may come very much into focus with a week like this. Now, speaking of Mars retrograde in the energy of Gemini, squaring Neptune, a dear friend of mine asked me to comment on and ask for my opinion where it comes to what's happening with Twitter, with Elon Musk as well. I feel like everything that's happening in that space is so perfectly encapsulated by this symbolism of a jacked up Mercury retrograde feeling, but also squaring Neptune. It's all so nebulous right now. And yeah, things are going to be changing quite a bit. I know that for my friend, she was saying how much it is that she hopes that we will move in a direction of no longer having a lot of bots that are like sort of flooding Twitter and things like that. Yes, that is absolutely something to look forward to. I actually think that that is coming anyways as part of Pluto moving into Aquarius. Now, I've already spoken about this a few times because I'm so excited about it, but I'm going to dive into it even more in the months ahead before we get to the big move happening in March of 2023. Having said that, I will link below to the decade ahead video that I did. I think that this is such a massive event. Of course, it's going to shift consciousness in so many ways. But one thing that we do want to be mindful of is that with Pluto in Aquarius, chances are there will not necessarily be this illusionary sense of bots and what's real and what's not as much. Chances are there are going to be ways to ensure that things are kind of regulated. There's a real person behind whatever. I think that that's coming. And I think that right now, it's like the worst time that you could have chosen to actually acquire a social media site, the absolute worst time with this Mars-Neptune energy, because there just isn't a sense of what it is that we are meant to do. The confusion is very high. And just when we think we have certainty, the certainty of Mars and the drive and the focus, Neptune comes in and just washes all that away. And so it'll be an experiment. It'll be interesting to continue to watch before we are making big consequential decisions about what it is that we're sharing on social media. It's a good idea to be a little bit mindful. And I think once Saturn kicks in, that mindfulness will kick in as well. I will also add there are a whole lot of ways to verify accounts and verify that it's a real person, and a whole lot of ways to do that without having to pay a monthly rate. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues to be navigated, because that really has gotten a lot of focus for a lot of people out there, but other things as well. It's interesting to see how many people are getting verified, but then they're really creating accounts that are like joke accounts, fun accounts, parody accounts, and things like that. We will have a lot more time to navigate this. And I do think it is going to be, once we get into March, we have a couple of things happening right around the same time in 2023. We're going to have Saturn leaving Aquarius. We're going to have Pluto entering Aquarius. But we're also going to have the end of the larger Mars retrograde season. We're going to have Mars making its last exact aspect to Neptune. But that energy is going to move rather quickly, not like this freestanding energy we've had as of late. And it is going to be, once we get to the end of March, that we're going to have that final trine of Mars and Saturn. But by then, both of those planets will be newly in brand new signs, in water signs at that. And so I feel like there's this big shift that is coming. And right now, whatever confusion we're feeling is ultimately part of that larger, incredible plan, that larger sense of us moving in a direction of stepping more fully into the age of Aquarius. The confusion right now is part of the perfection. that ultimately is going to help us to be open to infinite opportunities in our own life, but also to recognize the need for, or desire for, or to cultivate a collective desire for some structure. What that's going to look like, well, that'll show up as we go along. And of course, I'll be here to talk about it every step of the way. But we've got other energies here as well. And it's mainly a party that's taking place as we start the week in the energy of Scorpio that comes into focus. Now, this energy of Scorpio is very powerful. It is one of truth and being able to perceive deeply at the core of an issue, to understand, perhaps we can say strategically, how it will be addressed. At the start of the week, on Sunday and Monday, it'll be first Venus and then Mercury that will speak in harmony with Pluto. And that to me is engaging that spirit of strategy and insight in order to understand where meaningful change can occur, but also to understand it as a practice in focus, as a practice in love with Venus, and a practice of intellect and the focus of mind on what it is that we realize really matters. What really matters is our well-being, our peace within ourselves and in our soul. And so it's very powerful to consider how we begin the week with that energy, and simultaneously on Monday, we have the Sun trine Neptune. So faith ends up being a key part of whatever strategy we might implement in order to move through any moment that we might be in our lives. It is once we get to Tuesday and Wednesday that I think we reach sort of the sweet spot of the week. And that is Venus and then Mercury speaking in supreme harmony with Jupiter. Now, this is really setting the stage for next week when we are going to have the Sun trine Jupiter, which is considered one of the luckiest days of the year. I'll be here to talk about it every step of the way for sure. But suffice it to say that this week, with Venus and Mercury not far from the Sun, connecting in supreme harmony with Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Pisces. This is all water energy that's amplified now. Emotion can be very strong, but the potential for healing can be very strong as well. The potential for meaning as a pathway towards true depth of understanding that leads to the type of healing that changes us deeply is possible now as well. We've got that mix of energies here. On the one hand, the strategy and depth of Pluto, and then the faith and the bliss of Jupiter in Pisces. And of course, that Neptune in Pisces, trining the Sun as well earlier in the week. It is going to be Thursday and Friday that we are going to have Venus and Mercury change signs. They will move into the energy of Sagittarius. This becomes an energy that is worldly on the one hand, right? Very famously worldly, but it's also energy that is mutable. And so all signs are divided into one of three modalities. Either it's a cardinal, so signs that are of a cardinal modality are the signs that begin a season. And then we have fixed. The signs that are fixed modality are those that hold the middle of a season. And then we have mutable. And mutable signs sort of transition, right? They take us to the end of a season, knowing that the beginning of another season is right around the corner. And of course, we can understand this astrologically and how astrology connects us to our environment, to the earth itself. And yes, a part of our environment is the sky as well. But mutable energy in and of itself isn't necessarily the most grounded energy, right? That is something to take into consideration here as well. And so even with that sense of excitement and optimism and openness that represent the energy of Sagittarius, that will now come to a key characteristic, a key understanding of how it is that we are looking at our heart, looking at what we love, looking at bringing a spirit of love, how it changes what we're talking about, what we're thinking about, how we are actually perceiving and communicating. It may become more philosophical, but it can also go a different way as well, in that it can become ungrounded. When our hearts and our minds don't necessarily feel very stable, it is that much more challenging to find a space where we feel peaceful. I would even say that inner peace, a key characteristic of it is feeling something of consistency within ourselves. That helps us to feel at peace. Now, another thing, that consistency can be found through faith. Whatever that faith is that works for you ultimately can help you to move through energies now that might feel rather dramatic, I have to say, at times, but also could be a whole lot of fun. The energy of Sagittarius is a party sign, really. It is the sign of enjoying your life, experiencing everything, and living it up. On Friday, we are going to have the sun speaking in harmony with Pluto. And so it is the sun now slowly behind Venus and Mercury, and yet making those contacts in the sky. And that is going to amplify that spirit of focus and strategy towards what it is that we've decided authentically matters to us. And I would say, if it matters to you, it matters. If it matters to you, it means that there's an opportunity there to learn. And sometimes learning is best served through our focus of spirit and focus of intention. That is part of what the sun sextile Pluto is going to invite us to do. Harness all that power of emotion of a sun in Scorpio and decide where it is we want truth and transformation. And as we direct ourselves towards it, change must happen. Whatever it is that we're doing, whatever it is that we're giving to the world, it will count for something. Whether or not you feel that instant gratification, in the fullness of time, no effort is ever wasted. Every effort is an opportunity to magnify potential and love and wisdom and so much more. What I love about this week for us, well, there's so much here. It's a powerful astrological moment. Look, I'm going to say the energy of Venus and Mercury as we start the week, the sextiles of Pluto, the trines of Jupiter, that can be so elating to us now. At the same time, though, we have this energy that can be downright confusing. And so it becomes very important to find whatever touchstone works for you. And it just might be faith. It is ultimately faith that invites us to cultivate that very spirit of creation itself. There is a Sufi philosophy that believes in order to know the creator, you have to create. And we can create in all kinds of ways. And a part of what we might create, yes, is art and music and all kinds of beautiful things. Conceptualizations of the divine is a part of what we might create. But sometimes it doesn't have to be such a grand show, right? It doesn't have to feel so consequential. What we might decide to create is a person who is at peace with themselves and their choices. With that focus and from that space of inner calm, truly anything can be addressed, anything can be dealt with. And before it even shows up, you know that whatever it is, you are going to be able to move through it and be better because of it as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys. And to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I thank you so fully for that. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you in your sign, you can log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded exclusive video scopes each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate. Now, higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity, university events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space. at nadiyashawsuperstars.com. I look forward to meeting you there. Synchronicity University presents and is so proud to represent to you the one and only Cameron Allen. Cameron Allen is a force in astrology, especially helping us to understand the integration of sky and body and health and herbalism and so much more. I've had the chance to hang out with Cameron 2 times this year, and I'll tell you, he is just amazing in person as well. He is wise and insightful, but he also has this perspective in which he's able to move through life connected to a sense of not getting too caught up in the illusions. And of course, that connection to body is why it is that he's the perfect person to be teaching on medical astrology and how herbalism fits into that and so much more, as only Cameron can. He is one of the most popular teachers we've ever had at Synchronicity University, and I'm so happy and excited that he is now back, helping you to start a brand new year with classes starting in January, helping you to start a new year feeling that much more aware of that connection between body and sky and how to work with it, how to integrate it so that you feel your absolute best possible now. And so, yes, join us. Choose your tuition rate. It is today that this is being announced. And so, welcome. You're one of the very first people to know that Cameron Allen is coming back to Synchronicity University. And for a very limited time, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class, which is an unheard of rate, to learn from the likes of the very brilliant Cameron Allen. I'm so proud to have him back. I'm so excited to learn from him, as I'm sure so many of you will be as well and are as well. So yes, join us, synchronicityuniversity.com. Choose your tuition rate for a limited time. Link is in the description below. But if you can't wait till January, don't you worry. Synchronicity University has some incredible programs on right now, and single classes are available. We've got incredible speakers. You can download the previous classes that already started so that you can be all caught up. And that includes not just our incredible speaker series, but of course, the one and only Stormie Grace, right? Stormie Grace, YouTube sensation. Astrology Meets Business Part 2 is what it is that she is in the process of teaching right now. So you can get the downloads and you can join us live. Or if you can't join us live, that's okay. You'll get the download link after the fact, and you can understand how to use astrology towards your business success. And of course, my dear friend Nadiya Robles, brilliant astrologer. She is currently teaching a 5-part course on the part of fortune, just on the part of fortune. Now, she has taught on the part of fortune all over the world. And I'm so proud to have her back at Synchronicity University, helping all of us to understand the part of fortune with greater depth and nuance, and helping you to tap into what fortune uniquely is for you. Again, you can download the previous classes that have already occurred this month, and you can join us live for future classes as well. There's still time to sign up. Single classes are available. You can choose what's right for you at synchronicityuniversity.com. Link is in the description below. And thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your trust. Thank you just for the privilege of being some small part of your sacred journey. I'm truly so grateful for it. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.